Keep an eye out for Red Dot Book. It's gotta be here somewhere.
Well, everybody, we did it. We finally hit the point where they're buffing AATROX because they still refuse to nerf Ignite. I'm not really going to be that excited or even that, I don't even know, emotive in this one because I'm just disappointed. I've been talking about this all season. I've been saying all season, we need to nerf Ignite. You're making healing champions useless. You're going to have to slowly buff every healing champion if you want them to compete with Ignite. I've been saying that all season, and I've been showing champion after champion after champion how they're all getting buffed because they can't compete against Ignite, right? And then here we are, right? Here we are nearing the end of the season. This is literally the last patch before Worlds. And AATROX, who is a favorite of Riot for Worlds, I do like AATROX at Worlds. He's flashy and he doesn't break solo queue, and people generally like him and like playing him, right? What are we doing? We have to buff him because of Ignite. Now, here's my opinion on this. Before anyone goes into this video and thinks to yourself, aha, Hashinshin, now that AATROX is overpowered, you'll be happy. Well, no, I won't be, because it's so stupid. It's just, my emotion at this point is, I'm just like, it's like this change has, I'm not going to say it's killed League for me, but it's just like, I'm so disappointed that I'm just like, I can't believe this is really happening. Like, I cannot believe the people in charge are just so unable to admit the mistake with Ignite that we're doing this. And let me explain for a second why I think this particular buff on AATROX is also dumb. I think buffing AATROX at all is dumb. What have I've said on my stream a million times. People will, you know, misquote me and just put words in my mouth, and they'll say, oh, well, you wanted AATROX to be buffed. How many times on my stream, how many times did I tell everybody I don't want AATROX buffed? I just want Ignite nerfed. I want some of these overpowered champions nerfed. I don't want Ignite buffed, or sorry, I don't want AATROX buffed. We just need to tone down Ignite, right? How many times have I said that? A lot. And I thought when they nerfed Bramblevest that they were on the right path, and they were finally going to start admitting, hey guys, maybe we have made these champions, and sorry, not, well, at the very least, these items, these champions, these summoner spells overpowered. And they started nerfing Camille a little bit, but they didn't really touch Fiora. They haven't touched Riven at all. They haven't touched Irelia practically at all. They never nerfed Ignite. They stopped at Bramblevest. They never nerfed the support healing item. Sorry, anti-healing item. The support anti-healing item that basically just gives you permanent 60% healing debuff. They never touched any of these concepts. And I mean, I could go through it with you guys. In fact, I will. Here, actually, let's talk about it and go through it. Okay, so what is currently breaking this? Okay, so currently the support anti-heal item. It's the only effectively unconditional anti-heal item. It basically reads, if you're a support, get a 60% healing debuff. Because it's not, is a support a heal or a shield activates a 60% healing debuff? That's impossible to not get. Mortal Reminder needs 3 auto attacks. The AP and AD one need to be below 50% HP. The tank one needs to be auto attacked or you to CC people. So like, there are ways to sort of kind of play around them. But then you have the support anti-heal item, and what does that do? Hey, go fuck yourself if you're healing. There was Bramblevest. I'll call it Bramblevest, but that actually got nerfed, so that was a good change. Then there are some of these super overpowered champions. I think we all know them. Riven, Irelia, Camille, Fiora. Great, right? So these are things that I would rather see, well, obviously, and then Ignite. These are things I would obviously rather see nerfed. And Bramblevest was good, but they didn't touch a support anti-heal item. They didn't touch any of the super overpowered champions. They didn't touch Ignite. And now we're left with buffing AATROX W. Great, cool, awesome. If this doesn't sound like, I'm just bored because, God, guys, how many times have I made videos on this particular topic? How many times have I talked about this particular thing? And it's like, I'm watching a train that's moving not even very quickly, right? It's like, this was totally preventable nearly 12 months ago, okay? there was a point in time where the train started moving, and I told everyone, I was like, oh, that's going to be a problem in the future. Let's not even start the train. Let's think about this. And they started the train. And I was like, well, maybe let's change things before it picks up steam. And they started picking up steam. And I was like, well, maybe let's not keep feeding fuel to the fire. Maybe let's address the things that are going on now. And they just kept adding more fuel to the fire. And I was just like, okay. And then they started buffing all the healing champions, and they kind of did one nerf to Bravo Vest, and you thought like, okay, you know, things are improving, they're getting the idea, and then they just never did anything else with it, and it was just like, oh, guess they have no idea. So okay, that's why I don't know if you guys need. I'm just tired. It's like I had to force myself to make this video because I saw them buffing AATROX, and like you know, there are obviously two buffs. First, you're gonna buff his passive, which is the buff I like, and I'll get into that later. But now they're buffing his W, and I'll talk about his W because I don't think this is actually a good buff for AATROX. I think it's actually a bad idea. I've talked about this in particular over the last 2 years as well. I'm gonna show a notepad, or sorry, paint. I'm gonna show you guys why I think it's a bad idea. So in red you have, let's say, AATROX, right? And in black you have literally anyone else. Okay, now if AATROX hits you with the W, that's about as good as the W I'm gonna get. Okay, he's gonna, like, for champions without mobility, he's gonna be able to do this more often. And I know this is a totally unnecessary drawing, but I thought it was funny to do. So the champions without mobility, Ornn, Cho'Gath, Scion, even the bruisers who don't really have that much mobility, so champions like Jax, who can use it after a leap strike, okay, those champions are going to have more difficulty dealing with a lower cooldown. The whole reason, okay, the whole reason it had this massive 26-second cooldown, which is absolutely ludicrous, by the way, for an ability to have that much long of a cooldown. That's absolutely ludicrous. The whole reason it had this is because there's a lot of champions who can't escape it. With his Q combos properly and his W, he automatically gets the hit. So the whole balance has been that, okay, they can go one of two ways. They can give him better trades, but then the W needs a longer cooldown. Because if he has better trades and the W has a longer cooldown, then he can't get these perfect trades off as often, and that was fair. So they were going to give him better trades originally with the passive buff, which I liked. I liked the passive buff, that was a good buff, but now they're deciding to lower the cooldown in his W, so he gets effectively worse trades, but more often. But the thing is, he doesn't get these perfect trades against every champion. If I'm playing Aurelia or something, I just go, oop, bop over to a minion. No W. W effectively turns worthless. If I'm playing Revan, I just pop, 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 and I'm gone. Right? So if I'm playing those champions, great. This buff doesn't do a lot. Yeah, I'll get the first tick of my W. Maybe I'll be more annoying to Aurelia. Maybe I'll fight the few Riven players who get trapped in my W more often. But realistically, the passive buff was going to be the one that worked. So from that perspective, I don't like this buff either. I don't like it because we shouldn't be buffing AATROX at all. Let me be clear on that. We shouldn't be buffing AATROX at all. But we definitely shouldn't be buffing him in a way that directly makes it much harder to play the champions he's already good into. This makes him more of a counter pick. This makes him more of a, what do you want to call it, volatile pick, unless AATROX is always supposed to have been a safe first pick, and one of the ways they made him a safe first pick was to balance him properly by making the W have a long cooldown, but by giving him better trades. Remember back when they buffed his passive and they buffed his Q damage, and he could more effectively trade, while at the same time he well, yeah. So I don't like that this is being buffed either. But here, I'll tell you guys exactly what it does. Let me explain this again. So why is this going to push? In my opinion, why is this going to push? Let's ignore my issues with the buff entirely. Let's just talk about why I think that it's going to make him a pro play higher tier pick. Okay. So the reason, in my opinion, I think he will be more picked in pro play because of this change is, one, I mean, obviously it buffs his landing phase. If nothing else, even if you escape his W, he gets to W more often, right? And that's something. But it also makes him much better against certain picks, even though those picks aren't terribly meta right now. Champions like Set will have more difficulty dealing with him. Cho'Gath tanks, those sorts of stuff, they're gonna have much more difficulty dealing with him. But let's ignore that and let's talk about the early game team fighting. So in red, let's have, I'm not doing this right. In red, let's have AATROX's team. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then in black, we're gonna have the team against AATROX. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we have 5 on 5, right? Now in this sort of situation, AATROX, I'm gonna use him as a middle guy, is always gonna try to trap someone and combo them and get a pick. Right, that's good. Getting a pick with his W, and normally they'll try to use an escape or something like that, or mid-fight, he'll use his W to combo someone like, I don't know, Misfortune or something. Someone that can't really escape as easily, right? So the thing is, with the 26-second cooldown, he could basically only do that once. And AATROX was already called a good team fighter. Most people said that he was superior at team fighting than most top laners, and that he could just play for team fights and try to ignore the 1v1ing. So this change puts a lower cooldown on his W. It means he can combo more often in a team fight. It means that before team fights, after team fights, let's say you got one kill with his W, now you might get that second W at the end of a team fight, or early in a team fight when you guys are poking each other and you're trying to go for that play, for that pick, you can have it back quicker, and that makes him much better at team fighting. Obviously, that would be like if, I don't even know, that would be like if buffing the heal on Seraphine by reducing its cooldown by 6 seconds, right? It's a long cooldown, it's very powerful, it's good at team fights, right? So you reduce that cooldown, that makes you much, much, much better at team fighting. So what are my thoughts on this buff in total? Let's say, what are my total thoughts here? Okay, so I liked the passive buff better. If we're gonna buff AATROX, I like that better. I definitely thought that the passive buff gave him better trades. It allowed him to fight off champions like Jax, well, not Jax, Aurelia, Riven, Fiora, Camille, those champions better because he would have better trades and he'd be more often able to do that. I think the W buff is super, what's the way to put it? Super, warping. I'll call it warping. It makes him extremely much better into matchups that he can already dominate. Champions like Sion, for example. Sion is going to have hell to deal with this. The fact that its cooldown has been lowered so much, Sion could typically only get W'd once a minion wave, obviously 26-second cooldown. But now at 20 seconds cooldown, that means that's much harder to deal with. That means potentially he can do it twice in one push if he needs to. That's much harder to deal with for Sion. Now Sion's getting buffed, obviously, so you guys might say that, but let's ignore that. I'm not 10 shield strength is not gonna match a 6-second lower cooldown. So I think it's super warping. They should have just nerfed. They should have just nerfed. And that's my thing. They should have just nerfed. They should have nerfed anything at all. Just not buffed. Not buffed. Just don't buff AATROX. Just nerf some stuff. And if you were gonna buff, then buff things that he's a better, more consistent pick. And I guess those are my 3 things here. And I just very disappointed in Riot. I guess that's kind of my feeling. And you can probably hear that in my voice. I'm just so disappointed because I've made so many videos on this. I've talked about this so many times, and to be back here and to be doing this again, and I'll probably be here again in next patch review. We'll be talking about how we have to nerf Soraka because we gave her anti-healing and we're buffing H. I mean, every patch review, I mean, this is like a recurrent theme at this point, right? I mean, yeah, that probably knows I'm harping on this because it just keeps happening. And so now my champion, do I call AATROX my champion? I mean, let's call him a champion I play. A champion I play is now succumbing to this weak balancing, this bad balancing from Riot because they just can't balance good. I guess I don't know. Like, they have to understand at a certain point when you're buffing multiple champions a patch that are healing based all season, you're doing this. they have to realize that shit got fucked up, right? They even put a Twitter post out saying shit got fucked up, but rather than addressing that, fuck it, just buff Aatrox. The only thing I can think of is that maybe they wanted a low impact worlds patch, I guess. I don't know. But rather than continue to rant, yeah, that's my video. Just these things, just not, I don't know. This is like, I'm not gonna say it's like killed my enthusiasm for League, but you might have noticed the last few days I haven't been playing League as much, and a lot of that is just simply, even though it sounds super petty, just because like I look at this change and I'm just like, it's just like, okay, they're not gonna change. They're not learning their lesson. All right. So thank you for watching. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate the Patreon people. Please continue to subscribe to my Patreon. Remember, if we can get my Patreon to 500, I'm holding this deal. Get it to 500, we'll do a we'll do a balloons video. Okay. So get my Patreon there. Patreon always helps. Patreon is very nice. As every YouTuber, we can thank and appreciate all the Patreon people. Yeah. So thank you for being here. Have a great day. Have a great rest of your day. If it's the end, morning, whatever. Thank you all for watching. Appreciate you all. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.